Hello and welcome. Today we are diving deep into a topic that's on everyone's mind, AI governance. Look, it's one thing to have a rule book, but it's a whole other challenge to actually put it into practice in the real world. So let's break down how you get from a complex playbook to real, effective action. We all know AI is packed with incredible promise, right? It can boost growth, create efficiencies, you name it. But let's be real, with all that power comes some pretty significant risk. We're talking everything from operational meltdowns to serious data privacy issues. So the question isn't really if you should be using AI, it's how you can manage it safely and ethically. And that, right there, is where governance comes into play. Okay, so let's start with the playbook itself. What are we actually talking about here? What are the core processes that really make up a solid AI governance framework? At its heart, AI governance is not some dusty document you write once and then shove in a drawer. Think of it as a living framework. It's a set of processes that watches over an AI system through its entire life, from the moment it's just an idea all the way to when it's retired. The whole goal is to bake in safety, ethics, and compliance right from the very start. This life cycle can be broken down into 5 main stages. It all starts with planning, which is where you figure out the why and spot potential risks before you even think about code. Next up is data management, and this is absolutely crucial. This is all about making sure the data that's feeding your AI is clean, relevant, and unbiased. Then you get to model development, where the magic happens and the model is built and tested like crazy. Once it's out in the wild, the deployment and monitoring stage kicks in. You have to keep a constant eye on how it's actually performing. And finally, you have this continuous loop of review and improvement, making sure the whole governance process stays sharp and evolves over time. But here's the thing, right? A playbook is just a piece of paper if your team doesn't know how to run the plays. And that brings us to the most important part of this whole equation, preparing your leaders. How do you actually get them ready to execute this thing? So you've basically got 2 main paths here, training and coaching. On the one hand, training programs are fantastic for building that foundational knowledge. They're scalable, they're cost-effective, and they give everybody a common language to talk about AI risks. But they're not very personal. On the other hand, executive coaching is all about developing adaptive leadership. It's totally personalized, focused on results, and it deals with the messy human side of leading big changes. And this is the analogy that I think just hits the nail on the head. Think of it like this. Training gives your leaders the map. It shows them the theory, the rules of the road. But coaching teaches them how to actually navigate the terrain with all its unexpected bumps, tricky office politics, and the tough calls you can't find in a textbook. So, what's the big secret? Well, it turns out you don't have to choose. The smartest strategy is actually a blended approach. You use broad training programs to get everyone on the same page, building that baseline knowledge. Then, you bring in targeted executive coaching for your key leaders to help them apply all that knowledge to your company's unique, high-stakes challenges. Okay, so we've got the theory down, the framework, the leadership approach, but what does this actually look like when the rubber meets the road and the pressure is on? Let's walk through a few real-world scenarios to see this leadership in action. I want you to imagine you're the CEO for a second. Your team just built this amazing new AI hiring tool. It could save the company millions. But there's a catch. The tech team warns you that it might be biased against certain groups because of the old data it was trained on. You're feeling the pressure from all sides to launch, but you're also terrified of the legal and brand damage if it goes wrong. So what do? Do you push forward to hit those business goals, or do you slam on the brakes to make sure you're being fair? It's that classic tug of war between speed and safety. And this is exactly where a coach can be a total game changer. They help that CEO step back and connect the decision to the company's core values. Suddenly, governance isn't a roadblock. It's a way to build trust. A coach can help brainstorm a middle ground, maybe a limited pilot program, and even help the CEO role-play those really difficult conversations to get everyone from legal to tech on the same page. All right, let's try another one. This one's a classic. You've done the right thing and set up an AI governance council. You've got leaders from legal, business, and tech all in one room, but the meetings are a complete disaster. Everybody's speaking their own language, they're stuck in their own silos, and you're getting nowhere. So how on earth do you get this group of smart, well-meaning people to stop talking past each other and actually get something done? How do you get them aligned? This is a perfect example of how coaching helps a leader, say a CIO, build those bridges. A coach works with them to create a shared purpose that everyone can get behind, something bigger than their own department, like responsible AI for sustainable growth. They give the CIO tools to translate the tech jargon, navigate the inevitable politics, and build an environment where people feel safe enough to speak up. Okay, for our last scenario, let's get a little more personal because this one happens all the time. You have a senior executive who's in charge of major AI projects, but they are completely overwhelmed. They're afraid of making the wrong move because they don't feel like a tech expert, and that fear is causing total decision paralysis, stalling everything. And this leads to a question that, let's be honest, a lot of leaders are probably asking themselves behind closed doors. How are you supposed to lead confidently through a revolution that you're still trying to figure out yourself? What a coach does here is incredible. They help that leader completely reframe their role. They don't have to be the one with all the answers. Instead, their job is to be the leader who asks the right questions. Coaching helps them build the emotional resilience to handle that stress and to shift their entire mindset from seeing AI as a threat to seeing it as this massive opportunity to learn and grow. So, when you pull it all together, what's the big takeaway? A governance playbook gives you the what, but it's pretty much useless without the how. Real effective AI governance is all about getting your people ready to navigate the messy, complex, human and ethical terrain where technology collides with the real world. And that leaves us with one final, really important question for you to think about. You might have the playbook, but are your leaders actually ready for the game? Because having a plan is just step one. Making sure your leaders have the skills and the support to execute it, that's what will truly define success in this new age of AI.